So I'm going to do a short little talk today. The question came to mind yesterday of what is home. We've talked about home before, the concept of home. It's a really useful concept because many of us have a sense of home. It's a feeling we have, a feeling of home. Even if we don't feel that homey in our home these days, some of us obviously, hopefully some of you do. But even if you don't, you can think about what it would be like if you couldn't come home tonight. You'd get that feeling of home back, right? You'd be like, oh wait, it would be nice to be able to get back to my things and place and stuff. There's a feeling of home, so it is but it's amorphous, right? It's not a normal emotion. It's not the fear, anger, or love. It's not immediately obvious to be one of those. So it is a very specific quality. And it actually is a useful pointer, direction to move one's experience. I was very, fortunate that I really did have an experience as a kid. I don't know how this happened because there was lots of normal, difficult stuff going on in my childhood life, but I really had a sense of home everywhere in the world. And in fact, I had that for quite a period of time into my adulthood. Then I sort of lost it, and then I got it back with the meditation, which was nice. But when we can start to see our whole experience as home, then, well, it shifts our relationship to everything. I wrote a little, there was some contest in college when I was at Indiana University. There was some contest, a writing contest, and I just entered it on a whim, and I made up this story. I think I don't even remember what the prompt was, but I made up this story about traveling in Europe. I had traveled in Europe, but I made up this story about meeting a guy on a train, right? And finding out he was also from Indiana, and how immediately we felt like we were like, oh, there's a bit of home here now, right? I'm finding something familiar, like we could connect and we could talk about our experiences and we could share. And it was completely different than the other strangers around me. Now, did we have anything else in common? If I had met that person, if I had walked past that person at a gas station in America or in a park, I wouldn't probably have talked to them at all, right? But I recognized in them something homey. I recognized them in something of myself, right? I recognized in them something that felt comfortable, familiar. And so because I was in an environment that didn't have that familiarity, it stood out. So that's sort of one side of it, that feeling of home, and we can see how what it does is it's a relative experience. That means something can be home depending on the context, which shows that it's my attitude towards the thing that creates the experience of home. So this stranger who had nothing else in common with, but that we came from the same university in this story, becomes home. The following thing I do not exactly know how to express. One of the deepest experiences we can access through our meditation practice over time. Just to identify it, it's often called it's an experience of unity or the oneness of all things. But what that experience really is a realization that everything is home. What we do is we go, here's me, and then my home is like sort of me too, and then there's everything else. And if there's something in our home that doesn't feel like us, that's annoying, right? So it becomes less our home. because we're in antagonism. It's about the separation. Home is us, everything else is the separate from us. So when we realize unity, the direct experience, and this was literally the experience I had before I'd read anybody else saying this, and then I went and read the ancient, and they all said the same thing, is an experience of everything being home. It's the word really that's used is intimacy. It's a sense of being close and open and vulnerable and intimate with all things. That's a quality of home. And home is where they know you, right? They know the real you. That's not always true, of course, in terms of the word home can have different meanings, but the real home, the home that is a place of support and safety, that is a place of intimacy. Now, some of us don't have very much sense of home in our lives. I think a lot of us don't. And today, at least, this is not about getting that feeling. What I want to talk about, though, is the ability to see the truth of the matter. And we get at this in a lot of ways. We talk about interdependence here a lot, like, oh, everything is, there's nothing is, there's no real boundary between anything. You are not a human being if I take away the air in your room or the gravity or the water, like all these things that are coming into you and coming out of you at all times. That's part of your humanness. The human is not separate from its environment as much as we try to remove it. It's in constant exchange and interchange with its environment. So there's this sense of course, it's all the same stuff. We are the stuff that stars are made of. It's true astronomically. Most of the elements in our body were made in stars, distant stars. And that's how intermingled we are with everything around us. But the way we really get at this through meditation is starting to realize that everything we experience is arising in awareness. And so everything we experience has the same flavor to it. The mind comes in and says that part of experience is a bird and that part of experience is a laundry machine. And the mind comes in and says that part of experience is good and that part of experience is bad. And the mind comes in and says that part of experience is you and that part of experience is me. That's how the mind starts to carve it up. But if we go underneath the mind, we go before the mind gets its hooks into reality, it's all made of the same stuff. The good stuff and the bad stuff, the you stuff and the me stuff. I once had an awakening experience, which is not described very often. In fact, I've only heard one other teacher describe it. And you can, just mainly because it hasn't been described that often, I can imagine it's just an interesting experience. But it was a useful experience. And the experience I had, sometimes in meditation, you'll see through the layers of your concepts. So you'll see through yourself and you'll see through your ideas of good and bad, and you'll see through your ideas of laundromat, laundry machine, and bird. You'll see through all these concepts and just have experience without the concepts being there. But as you get deeper, the deep ones are self. So you'll see through your concept of self, but you can actually see through your concepts of time and space as well. Time, lots of people talk about, is an experience of eternal now. When you stop thinking about things in terms of ticks on a clock and just experience the world directly, time itself ceases in a way. The time that we think about normally is a mind-generated way of organizing our experience, which you can and this is talked about quite often, you can have a sense of eternity right now. Eternity does not mean infinite. That's not what it means. It means, not in this sense at least. Eternity means timeless. But the experience I had, and people will talk about other spatial experiences. The experience I had was one of space collapsing, and it was the experience of everything being in a single point. So rather than the mind organizing everything, it's that being distant and that being distant. You see, all of this is happening. Well, I don't know where it's happening, right? This consciousness, right? Where that the laundry machine over there and the bird over there are both happening in me. But I don't know where that is. And the experience I had was of it all being completely compressed together in one point, one place. Because that's how it, in one sense, that's how it's happening. Your consciousness arises and everything arises in it, but consciousness is not arriving over there. The laundromat, I keep saying that. The laundry machine, I've got one. I got a laundromat right in my room. The laundry machine is not arising over there. It's arising in consciousness right here, right here. And that's true of everything, including you and anything I hear or taste. It's all rising in one point. But when you start to experience, when I had this experience of it all being one point, I realized just how close we are, how close everything is. How incomprehensible close everything is. And that's not a normal experience, but it's one way of tuning into how close we all are. Another way of putting this is we're all made of the same stuff. It's true in physics. It's also true in experience. In physics, we're all made of the same stuff. I mean, there's so many ways to get at this. This earth is a home to us. Everywhere else in the universe is deadly. So, you look out and just be amazed that you're walking through this place and you can just breathe everything. And there's water and the right amount of light and the right amount of gravity. So there's that sense of home in the physical world. And you can keep expanding that because the rest of the universe is made of the exact same laws. And the rest of the universe somehow served to create an environment perfect for us to exist in. So there's just this sense of a universal interdependence that is really homey, that really is supportive of us. And there's, of course, other ways of looking at it because there's a lot of suffering in this body too. But that is one way of looking at it that's very useful. I gotta just make sure this is plugged in. Okay. But there's this other way of experiencing things, which I said it before. I don't know if I can get this across. So I am rambling a little bit, just trying to give you a taste of the experience of, you look and you realize that you arise in experience. You are the you normally think of is a sensory thing in consciousness. But so is that painting over there. They share the same basic. There's nothing between them that can identify one as more important than the other without the mind jumping in. Just in experience, they're all equal before the mind starts evaluating. So this is our home. This is our home. This as you go through the world, this is our home. That this experience is our home. Can you see how intimate a thing your experience is? Maybe this is where we'll finish up. Your experience is so intimate. Everything in your experience. The fact that I am in your experience means that this experience you're having of me is an intimate experience. It's as close to you as anything could get. right? Your experience. The mind doesn't work that way. The mind goes, okay, this is this close, that's that close, that's a little further away, that's a lot further away. Or this is really nice for me, this is a little bit nice, less nice, this is a lot worse, that's bad. The mind is quickly trying to organize things into a map. But if you think about it, so intimate, my perspective right now in this moment, in this body of that painting, never has happened in the history of the universe, and only I get to see it in a way, right? And so it's intimate to me, it's home. This is what it is to be us. These experiences, we can't even really conceive of what it would be to be something else. This is how home it is. We are experiencing conscious, aware things. That is our essence. What is our essence? We are aware, we are being, we're here, and we're now. That's our essence, and it infuses everything around us. Everything we experience. Every person we experience, including the person we call ourselves. You see, when you go on a trip to a foreign country and you come back home, there's a feeling of, oh yeah, this is my stuff. I don't feel like I'm in a fight with this stuff. And it's hard because I can't really give you the alternate imagining. It's almost like imagining you were dead and you come back to experience, to consciousness. Oh yeah, this is consciousness, awareness, being awake. Wow. And you see, then the people who are annoying to us, and the pain we suffer, and the problems we have to solve they become part of the map of our home, as opposed to the things that we are in battle with. Okay, that's the best I can do today.